Don't spill. Oh, it's so good. It tastes so good. I'm so happy. I've been posting on social media for quite some time now, and one of the most common questions I receive both online and in person is, how do I stay in shape, or what is my workout routine? And I thought in today's coffee date I can finally address that. This is just a little chat. I'm not a nutritionist, doctor, none of that, so keep that in mind. I'm just a person who has gone through some experiences and wants to share. I'm 21 years old now, and I would say I'm pretty confident in my body and myself in general, but it was a very long journey. The short answer to how do I stay in shape is I don't. But we're here for the long answer, right? I don't know how to start this discussion because it feels very vulnerable and I'm literally talking to my camera, but let me just start somewhere. To this day, I remember the first time I watched the Victoria's Secret fashion show. I was with my parents, and while they were having dinner with adults, I was in the living room and the TV was on, and I just remember this amused shock when I saw these beautiful women walking down the runway, and in my brain it clicked that this is what beauty and success look like, even though I didn't realize it back then. And over the next few years I watched the Victoria's Secret fashion shows like on YouTube. I would rewatch them, I would like save the photos of the models and stuff like that. And the reason why it was so interesting to me was of course not the lingerie, but the bodies of the women and me aspiring to look like that. I was never overweight. The body that I have now is mostly due to genetics, and I wish more people talked about it when they sell their workout plans or their diet plans or whatever, because I think it's a huge factor in how we look, and it's weird to neglect it while talking about body image. But it doesn't really matter how your body looks if you have insecurities in your head. So when I was about 15, I decided that I need to lose weight to look better. And the reason for that, I think, is that I was receiving some positive reinforcement about my body. I remember when I wore a tight dress probably for the first time to school, and I was in class and I went to the desk to like write a sentence or something, and my teacher, she made a comment in front of the whole class about how it always fascinates her to look at her little students and how they turn from ugly ducklings into these curved women or something, and it just made me feel so embarrassed and ashamed of how I looked, even though that was supposed to be like a compliment. But the fact that it was like in front of everyone, and it just kind of put my value into my body. And I think over the next few years I just kept getting more and more focused on it because of how people would talk about me, and specifically not me as a person but me as a body. Where I'm from in Russia, I think most people in high school are very slim. I think you can take Western beauty standards and just multiply them by 10 and that would be your Russian beauty standard. And so whenever people would say something about my waist or about my butt, of course I meant it well, but in my brain I think over time I just kept putting this, your value is in your body, your value is in your body. And of course it's not, but at the time I was just too young to understand that. And that's why I think when I kept getting that validation, I was like, oh, if I lose more weight, people will love me even more. And that's how a very weird period of my life began. I think it was like 4 months when I decided to eat really healthy, and that was just like a really nice way to mask the fact that I really wanted to lose weight. I would bring cooked spinach to school for lunch. When my huge friend group would go to McDonald's to have some burgers, I would leave them, go to the grocery store, get like a little bit of nuts and maybe some yogurt and go back and have that as my lunch. I weighed myself every single day as many times as I could, and I remember I would take like photos of my progress and I would send it to my best friend and be like, look, I'm almost 50 kilos. Yeah, I thought it was like a really good thing, like it was an accomplishment. I remember one day I skipped dinner, and then the next morning I weighed myself and I was like 200 grams less, and I was so elated. I was like, this is the way to go. So when I finally weighed less than 50 kilograms, which was kind of like my goal, and I was 49, instead of being like, okay, now I can stop, in my head it was more like, now I want to weigh 45. I think it was borderline an eating disorder, but no one really told me that it was wrong because I was so good at rationalizing it as, I'm just eating healthy, you guys. Like, I'm so healthy, it's important to be healthy. No fried foods, no fats, no sugar. I remember when I made myself a rule that I would only eat sweets before 12 p.m. and I have such a sweet tooth, and I remember when somebody brought cake to the house, I had a small slice of that cake for breakfast for like 3 days because I just wanted to eat something sweet so badly. But I looked good, or I thought I looked good, and I think the people around me thought I looked good. I don't want to go into too much detail, but what saved me from that mentality was that I got accepted into an exchange year program, and I knew that I would be spending the next year abroad in the US, and I think my curiosity and desire to have new experiences related to food as well, that weighed more than my desire to be skinny and adored because I was skinny. So over the summer before I went to the US, I loosened up my rules. And mind you, I had really bad digestive issues whenever I did that because my stomach was just not prepared to digest real food at that point. I was not healthy at the time, but because I was slim, people thought I was healthy and they didn't have any questions for me. And the injustice that hurts me when I look back at the situation is that I had a friend in my class and we were very close. She had a different complexion. Even though she worked out or ate healthy, people would still look at her differently and categorize her differently and make assumptions about what kind of food she eats just because of her look or weight. And that's just so fucked up. And that's why I think genetics are just so extremely important when we talk about things like that. We're all given different body types and they're all equally beautiful. And it hurts me to think that just because of some societal pressures, we judge people based on their weight or perceived weight. We judge ourselves. We try to put ourselves into these cookie cutter body types when in reality we're all just so different. Some people can eat as much junk food as they want and never exercise, and in the eyes of the society they will look healthy and no questions will be asked just because they look slim, where some people can work out, eat very nutritious food, but the society will still judge them. I just hate that. I remember how surprised I was when I was in my American high school and how many different body types there were. Everything was different, from skin color to height to complexion. And I think seeing so much diversity kind of made me feel more normal as well. And another thing is that when I moved to the US, people were telling me that I'm really skinny, that I'm like too skinny and I need to eat more, which was also kind of like weird. But it was really funny to me how in Russia I like fit the standard, but in the US I was not enough. Remember how I was telling you that comments about my body gave me validation? So it all changed after I lived in America for a year because I completely let go of any restrictions I had for myself. I ate whenever I wanted, I ate as much as I wanted, and I ate even more than I needed to just because I thought that, well, I am too skinny. And then when I moved back to Russia, I looked different. And I still remember when my guy friend and I were standing in front of this huge mirror, he just started laughing and I was like, what's funny? He said, my legs are skinnier than yours. Ha ha ha. If anybody says that to me right now, I wouldn't give a fuck. But back then it was just like this hurt because here I was eating, being happy, and then this is the type of reaction that I get. I'm really grateful for traveling because I got exposed to so many different cultural ideals of what a woman should look like. And in the US, as I said, it's like a huge spectrum, but there's still this like pressure to work out and do yoga and eat green stuff and have abs and be this goddess, I don't know. And while in Russia being pale is not really good because it means that you didn't get to go on a vacation in the summer and get a tan, it's very different from the way it is in Korea. And I remember how a girl asked me if my skin color was natural and if everyone in Russia was pale, and that she made her skin look like that with makeup. Just very different norms. And being exposed to all of them allowed me to take a step back and realize that they're all bullshit pretty much. So I am just me. I am Dinara. My body changes. Sometimes I nourish my body with healthy food, sometimes I exercise, sometimes I don't. I really want to have children someday, and that's also like another thing of like accepting that my body will change and that it's completely fine, because groundbreaking, but my value does not depend on my body. It's a wonderful shell that allows me to be on this planet and to experience all of these things, from touch to kiss to smell to taste to everything. But guess what? It's not me. I'm so much more than my body. I'm the awareness behind it. I'm the light. I'm the spirit. I'm whatever you want to call it. I'm just me. There are definitely still moments when I fall back into my old patterns. I barely weigh myself now, maybe like once or twice a year. And when I moved to South America, I realized that I lost 5 kilograms. I did not know how it happened because once again, I didn't weigh myself regularly to like track that. And the first thought that came to my mind was, oh, how wonderful, I lost some weight. And I had to step back again and just be like, girl, why are you saying that it's a good thing? Maybe there's a health issue, like you really need to look into that. I'm fine, by the way. I checked everything. Totally fine. Since the quarantine started, I also started eating croissants, and I was so happy to eat pastries again because the last time I had a vegan croissant was in Berlin. Then I started just eating a croissant every morning with my coffee, and then I started feeling guilty because I was like, oh no, Dinara, what if you gain weight? Like, you eating too much pastries. And then again, it's kind of like, why am I spoiling the moment with concerns about my weight? It should not be a concern. The thumbnail for this video, just as the title, is the type of video that I would watch a lot when I was a teenager, and I really hope that if you are just like me when I I was 15 and you're having some body image doubts or you're like going through this journey, I really hope that you don't make my mistakes. I'm grateful for the body I have because it's the only body I have and because it allows me to be here. And also when I really think about it, it's kind of what my mom and dad gave me, and I should treasure it no matter how it looks, or especially because of how it looks. I used to be so worried about my stretch marks when I first got them, and I was like researching all the creams and oils and stuff that could help me because the beauty industry really profits out of those insecurities. But you know how many times I thought about my stretch marks in the last 2 years? Like twice maybe. This is the second time. And now when I look at them, it's just kind of like, ooh, I look like a tiger. Cool, it's just my skin. And I think similarly with acne, I got it when I was about 18 or 19, so I was already older, and I really didn't have the same mentality I used to have when I was a teenager, so I didn't really worry about it. I was just like, okay, it's just on my skin. I'm gonna treat it. It doesn't define me. So the long answer to how I stay in shape is that I focus on other things in my life apart from my body, like reading books, taking my classes, deepening my relationships with the people that I love, cooking good food, enjoying food, dancing, working out when I feel like it, listening to my body and what it needs. And now when I look in the mirror, instead of looking for imperfections and things that I would like to fix, I look at my body and I smile because it's my body, and no stupid boy's opinion can ever make me feel less about it. The last thing I'm gonna say, guys, that self-love, self-confidence thing, it really affects how people perceive you. Because now I weigh much more than when I used to weigh when I was back in high school. But the level of confidence that I have in my body, 1,000,000 times more than what that girl had. And I think maybe because of that, when I returned back to Russia from the US, people felt like they could give remarks about the weight that I gained, and it affected me. I felt very insecure about how my legs looked in jeans and about my cheeks. But now I literally couldn't give a shit because I know my truth. I think it comes from the power that you get when you stop relying on other people's opinions and you just value yours much more. Thank you guys so much for coming to this coffee date. I know it's a vulnerable topic, but if you feel like sharing your thoughts or maybe your stories, leave them down in the comments so we can all read through them and talk. Please remember that you are so much more than your body. You are smart, you're beautiful, you're creative, you're fun, you're interesting, and more importantly, you are you. That's what matters. I love you guys so much. I will see a new video in a couple days, so if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. And until I see you, I hope that you're having a wonderful, grateful time wherever you are in the world and whatever you're doing. And I hope you're enjoying delicious food. In fact, I'm gonna go order some pizza now.